We've got a quorum already, so may I now call the meeting to order. So this is the Subcommittee on Proposals on the Method for Selecting the CE in 2017. Item 1, meeting with the administration. So please invite the administration in. We'd like to welcome the Secretary and his colleagues. We have with us Mr. Raymond Tam, Secretary for Constitution and Million Affairs, Mr. Gordon Leung, Deputy Secretary for Constitution and Million Affairs, Mr. Freddie Chang K, PAS for Constitution and Million Affairs, and Ms. Rosanna Chang, Deputy Solicitor General, Department of Justice. We were discussing paper 1454/1415/01. We were studying the 2015 proposed amendments. There are 5 points. We covered points 1 to 3 last time. And we'll continue with the discussion today. We will deal with points 4 and 5. So, Mr. Tam, do you have anything to say in relation to these 2 points? Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, concerning point 4, in fact, in the consultation report and the proposals, we detailed that there are 2 stages. First of all, members' recommendation, and then second, members' nomination. And as a result, we can have 2 to 3 candidates. In fact, this is in line with the wording in Annex I. Not less than 120 members and not more than 240 members of the NC may recommend a person. And then we suggest that now at the moment it's a joint nomination by at least 150 EC members, and we think that for the threshold recommendation it can be lowered, but we don't want to see too many candidates, and we hope that the election can be carried out in an orderly and efficient manner. And so we suggest that a person who can obtain recommendation jointly by 120 NC members in the individual capacities can become a member seeking nomination for the CE election. And then in order that we can have more aspiring persons taking part in the election, and to give the NC more choices and to give rise to more competition, we suggest that each NC member may recommend only 1 person. Each person seeking nominations obtain no more than 240 recommendations. And the NC will, or each member can recommend only 1 person, because we have 2 stages, namely members' recommendation and committee nomination. And so we have to differentiate between the 2 stages. And under committee nomination, we have this provision, and that is we need to have the nomination of 2 to 3 candidates for the CE, and that has to be done in line with the decision made by the NPCSC on the 31st of August last year. And then second, the SAR government proposes that for the nominations that would be by secret ballot, and then 2 to 3 candidates who or should I say that each member, each nominating committee shall vote for at least 2 persons, and may at most vote for all persons seeking nomination by the nominating committee. The SAR government also suggests that each member can, or if there is only one candidate, or if there are three candidates getting the nominating committee some nomination, then all these scenarios will be provided for in local legislation. And then point 5 relates to universal suffrage. That is, at the stage of electing the CE by universal suffrage, all 5 million eligible voters of Hong Kong may elect the CE-elect from the 2 to 3 candidates nominated by the NC through one person, one vote, and that is in line with the decision made in August last year, and also under Article 26 of the Basic Law, and that is Hong Kong residents, permanent residents should have the right to vote and the right to stand for election in accordance with the law, and they can, in accordance with the law, elect one or choose one candidate. And it is said that the specific election method shall be prescribed by the electoral law. So the election method will be prescribed by local legislation. 3 members would like to ask questions. 4 in total. They are Mr. Lee Chuk Yan, Mr. Ip Kin Yuen, Ms. Claudia Mo, and Ms. Sit Ho. 4 minutes for each member. Mr. Lee Chuk Yan. Chairman, again, the 31st of August decision was mentioned, and our position is that in fact the framework should not have legal effect, and the secretary said that all the provisions were in line with the 31st of August framework. We do not accept the 31st of August framework. We only accept that there should be universal suffrage. And then second, I've got this question for the secretary. Zhang Xiaoming said that Pan-Democrats would not be recommended and would not be nominated, but even if they by accident were recommended and nominated, they would not be appointed. Or so is he suggesting that in fact the 1,200 nominating committee members are in fact puppets? So Mr. Zhang Xiaoming can decide who can become recommended and who can become nominated. So is it that these NC members are only puppets? You may say that electoral members are also members of the nominating committee. That's true. But of course we are not puppets. So I think Zhang Xiaoming is trying to suggest that he is controlling everything. Everything is under his control. So perhaps we can all ask Mr. Zhang Xiaoming who will be recommended and who will be nominated. Why is it that he can be in a position to exercise absolute control? I think Hong Kong people should now understand that everything is controlled by the CPG. And then second, the Chinese authorities are saying that if we oppose this package, we are in fact opposing the concept of one country, and the central authorities will have to continue to fight with us. So how are you going to tie in with the central people's government's efforts to in its fight with us? Have you received instructions from the CPG? Is it that you are going to launch a fight with us on all fronts? I think they are not only trying to fight against the Democrats, they are in fact fighting against the systems that we have in Hong Kong. Mr. Tan, please. Chairman. So, Chairman, we are here to explain to members the design of the system, the policy objectives, and so on and so forth. In fact, I said that for the nominating procedures, there would be 2 stages. I think it's trying to take us round in circles, Chairman. It's a waste of our time. So is it that the policy objective is to let Zhang Xiaoming have all the say? Zhang Xiaoming has made it clear that he can have all the say. So the nominating committee members are only puppets. They are controlled entirely by the CPG. And also, will you try to help the CPG initiate a fight or a struggle with us? The eligibility criteria are in Article 44 of the Basic Law.
At the nomination stage, if you are recommended by 120 members, but why did Zhang Xiaoming say what he said? I can only explain the amendments. Is he cheating us? I'm only talking about the system design with regard to the drafted amendments. As to the second point made by Mr. Lee, I don't think it is within the scope of the amendments. I'm afraid I cannot respond to the second point. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Ip Kin Yun, Chairman. In Shenzhen, we heard the few directors say that actually the proposals cannot be changed. My question is, we are discussing the proposed amendments and there are 5 clauses. Now, what is the meaning of all that? If we would propose revisions to the amendments, do you think it is feasible at all? Even if we continue to discuss this, what's the meaning? Say the 1,200 people of the NC and how the NC is composed, whether it be the EC or NC. We don't always have all 800 or 1,200 people in this room. All legislators are members, but some of them also have voting rights at CPP, CC, and MPC. And if you discount those, we will only have 1,164 people. In other words, it's already a very small group, and some people actually do not form the NC. So is it in line with the basic law stipulation that it should be broadly representative? When we discuss these issues and ask these questions, do you think there is any more meaning to this? What can we do at this stage? Secretary, thank you, Chairman. Now, of course, the composition of the NC is provided for under clauses 2 and 3. The amendments are to amend Annex I are made according to Annex I. And what is most important is that we should entrench the NPCSC decision in local legislation. And also, within that decision, if there are not the specifics, but we need to provide the specifics, then they are here in the amendments. As I was saying, the nomination threshold of 120 and the maximum of 240 recommendations, and also when there is committee nomination, how many candidates they can nominate, etc. We have tried to cover all these in the consultation stage, and under the framework of the basic law, we have already tried to include the most lenient proposals. And also we have said that the further specifics would be taken care of by local legislation. There are these 3 parts, therefore. This is the 7th meeting, of course, and we are trying to explain these to members. At the last meeting, we told members that we are of the view that this amendment is in line with the requirements of the basic law and the August 31st decision, and also it balances the views of all sectors in the community. We would like to secure the support and passing of the amendments by legislators, but legislators, of course, can come to their own judgment. Okay, next one, Ms. Claudia Mo. Thank you, Chairman. Many Hong Kong people will feel that after the Shenzhen visit, if we continue to have such meetings with all the lights on and the electricity running, it is not only posturing, but it is in fact hypocrisy. You said that those who are aspiring should be able to enter the race. What do you mean? Who are the aspirants? Ask your Beijing bosses who these people are and will they really be able to join the race. And they say that those who are eligible should enjoy the right to stand in elections according to law. We have been trying to fight for nomination rights. Let me not talk about civic nomination with you, but just normal voting rights. And you just turned a deaf ear to that. You use an official paper and you just recited it. Things are more than clear now, aren't they? It is said that one who is not obedient, even if he is going to be elected, there will be no appointment by Beijing. And in order to avoid that trauma, there would have to be strict screening in the process. That message is crystal clear, but still you sit here and you are saying just the opposite. How can you face Hong Kong people? What do you think is the meaning of what you are saying? You are telling us the composition of the NC, etc. And do you think what you say is of any meaning? This is a question. Have you finished with your question? Yes, Secretary. Chairman, this is a meeting attended by officials as requested by the Legislative Council. Every time we come here, we discharge our responsibility to explain to members the rationale and justifications behind these amendments. But members, of course, can make their own judgment. Ms. Claudia Mo mentioned the aspirants and who can enter the race. Of course, we have not got the proposals supported by LegCo yet, but after it is passed, we still need to form the NC by elections. Now, whether the 120 members of the NC will be able to nominate or recommend one aspirant, it's hard to say, but given the present political landscape, I'm sure people belonging to the entire political spectrum should be able to enter the race. We repeatedly emphasized that we have made these amendments or proposed them according to the August 31st decision and also the basic law. Ms. Mo, I can only say that there are more human audio recorders in this government. We talk about the law, you talk about struggle, and we talk about the basic law, and you talk about loving the country and Hong Kong. I think that's it. Ms. Sitho, I can't see why, if we veto the proposals, that would amount to or equal to damaging one country, two systems and standing up against the central authorities. I can't see why. But Mr. Zhang Xiaoming said that to be the case. But then you are making these proposals and we are here to say yes or no to it. Why is it that those who oppose it would be damaging one country, two systems? Secretary, you have to comment. You said people of the entire political spectrum should be able to enter the race. But then in Shenzhen, we also heard that the die-hard opposition would be struggled against. What do you mean by struggle? What kind of behavior does it include? If I look at literature belonging to the Cultural Revolution, struggle would mean that you would be spat on, you would have to kneel on broken glass, and you would be led along the street and be criticized by the masses. And can you comment on that? Professor Liu Shaokai said yesterday that to the opposition camp, but then there may be candidates there. He would say that he would try to attack them together with community organizations. I'd like to know whether you would have to also count these towards election expenses. What about Robert Chow? How much did he spend on collecting 1.21 million signatures in 9 days? And if you say you gang up with the media, would you be infringing upon press freedom and the autonomy of the press? I am cautioning you, you may be breaking the law when you involve in such a struggle against the opposition. I want to ask the Secretary whether you can guarantee that the SARG will not break the law, and what kind of behavior would be included in the so-called struggle. Secretary. Ms. Sit Ho mentioned a lot of points, but then I do not intend to respond to them because this is a meeting for me to explain the content of the amendments. But if we oppose to them, does it mean that we are damaging one country, two systems? I'm afraid he would be digressing. My basic question is that if we veto the resolution, does it mean that we damage one country, two systems? He is not leading you up the garden path. He is not answering your question. No, you are an accountability official. I can ask the question in a different way. Will you say in this resolution that if we should oppose it, it would amount to damaging one country, two systems? Why don't you just say it straight? Secretary, Chairman, one country, two systems is a basic policy and principle as enshrined in the basic law. No matter what happens in Hong Kong, one country, two systems would continue. This has been repeatedly stressed by Mr. Dennis Kwok and the three directors, especially Mr. Wang Guangya. He directly replied to that issue. He said no matter whether the resolution is passed or not, one country, two systems will still be implemented. In this council, we vetoed constitutional proposals by the SARG, but we had also passed it in the past. No matter what, we will still have one country, two systems in Hong Kong. Ms. Sit Ho quoted Mr. Lau Shaokai. Last time I actually already said with some embarrassment that Mr. Lau or Professor Lau would only be speaking on his own behalf. However, on the point of election expenses, the EAC, led by Judge Fong, and ICAC, and also other case law, will certainly strictly follow the law. Everyone must follow existing laws in calculating election expenses. Thank you. Next one, Emily Lau. Chairman, as members have said, if Beijing officials have said it so clearly in Shenzhen, we need not carry on with this discussion. I hope this will be the last meeting. And let us put an end to this. However, Hong Kong people will not stop fighting for democracy. Secretary, you quoted the directors to say if the resolution is not passed, they will continue to implement one country, two systems. But that's not what Professor Albert Chan said. He said if this is vetoed, there will be a direct impact on, well, he did not exactly say that it would destroy, but there will be a direct impact on one country, two systems. But of course, Beijing officials don't listen to Mr. or Professor Albert Chan. I don't know why the Secretary could say with a straight face that this proposal would allow people with different political aspirations to enter the race. Because this is exactly why we want to veto it, because there is unreasonable screening. So voters do not have a real choice. After the meeting in Shenzhen, different parties, even your camp, Mr. Chairman, members say that it is watertight, that Hong Kong people would definitely not have a real choice. Mr. Secretary, you sit here in the Legislative Council, you still say there is a choice. People of different political affiliations can enter the race. Is it what you are really saying, Secretary? Even Lam Wun Kwong, well, you say Lau Shou Kai does not represent you, but Mr. Lam Wun Kwong, he is the convener of the EXCO. On the 1st of May, I attended an RTHK program together with him, and he said already that no one from the pro-democracy camp can enter the race. They can at best be kingmakers and give all the votes to the pro-establishment member of your choice. Does Lam Wun Kwong represent the SARG? Why can't the SARG come clean to say that because of national security, because of sovereignty, there is no way you can change this? Yesterday, I told Mrs. Regina Ip, you can't have the best of both worlds. But this is exactly what you are proposing. At least be honest. Can you just be honest?
Cục trưởng.
Secretary, please. Chairman, past experience tells us this. 2 or 3 terms ago, Mr. Lee Wing Tat wanted to become a candidate, but he was not able to enter the race. And then the system was not changed. And but then in the following 2 terms, some were able to get enough support to enter the race. And some were able to meet the nominating threshold. I want to say that it depends on the strength of the interested persons concerned. And then in my introduction, I said that I mentioned the 120 NC member threshold for recommendation. Looking at the political distribution in the nominating committee, I can't see any obstacles for Ms. Emily Lau and her party members, and also like-minded persons in getting 120 NC members support for recommendation. And I think after all, it's really about political strength. We want to have more transparency, more competition in the race. So different candidates or different aspiring persons have to display their strength, and the nominating committee has to make nominations in accordance with public opinion. In fact, that's the essence of the system being designed. Mr. K.K. Kwok. Chairman, I think the secretary and his team can't really please anybody. In fact, the 3 so-called ambassadors in Shenzhen slapped Hong Kong people on the face. And I think the CS4A and also the S4J are also to blame. A few days ago, they kept saying that we could pocket the package first. There would be improvements in the future. So we should really pocket the package first. But then the 3 officials in Shenzhen slapped Hong Kong people as well as the CS4A and the S4J on the face. So I think you really should feel ashamed. They told Hong Kong people that the package would not change. And Li Fei and Wang Guangya said that there were people who would not be allowed to join the race. So how come you keep saying that all aspiring persons will have a chance? And in fact, the officials said very clearly, the mainland officials said very clearly that even if they or such persons were elected, they would not be appointed. They made it crystal clear that that would be the case. So I think you should state in the resolution that the Democrats will not be allowed to stand in the election. So you have misled Hong Kong people, you and your team have deceived Hong Kong people, and the Beijing officials do not agree with you. In Hong Kong, there are people who keep fighting for democracy, and you call them the die-hard opponents. And these people won't be able to enter the race. Secretary, now, I think you know the truth. If you do not know the truth, you shouldn't be in this position. And Zhang Xiaoming said that those who voted down the package would be punished by the voters. And he also said that those who were disobedient, those who did not support the 31st of August package would be excluded. And I understand that you as a secretary will have to support the efforts of the liaison office to punish the Pan-Democrats. So is it that you, together with the liaison office and many others, are going to drive the Pan-Democrats to the corner? Secretary, our election system has to be fair. It has to be in strict accordance with the law. Elections are monitored by the EAC, an independent body. And then concerning arrangements at the polling stations, he didn't answer my question. I want to ask him this question, Chairman. I think he knows the truth. Does he know the truth? Give him the chance to continue with his reply. In fact, we do have very rigorous electoral arrangements, and I want to assure members that the EAC will do whatever it can to make sure that our elections are open, fair, and just. Concerning whether the package will be, or whether Hong Kong people will be pocketing the, or should be pocketing the package first, or whether they will be pocketing the package forever, I understand that adequate explanation has already been given, and in fact the CE gave an explanation this morning, and in fact we also pointed out the issue very clearly in our report. Chairman, can I ask the Secretary whether he knows the truth, and can I ask the Secretary whether he knows who will be excluded from the race? I think time's up. Mr. Lam Tai Fai. Chairman, thank you. The Secretary did not respond to concerns raised by members. I think this is really disappointing, and I think he is a bit weak or a bit cowardly in not responding to the allegations or satirical remarks made by some members. I think if the Secretary hears some unfair or untrue remarks or accusations, he has the responsibility to refute the accusations and to set the record straight. In fact, I also took part in the tripartite meeting. In fact, I was one of the electoral members who spoke, and I can clearly remember what the three directors said. He said that a minority of the Democrats were extremely stubborn. They were die-hard opponents, and they did not support one country, two systems. In fact, they would deliberately jeopardize one country, two systems. They oppose for the sake of opposing, and what they did was not in line with the interest and well-being of Hong Kong and the country. And so the director said that such persons must be excluded. And even if they wanted to be recommended, they would not be recommended. Even if they were recommended, they would not be nominated. And even if they were nominated and elected, they would not be appointed. The directors sent a very clear message to us. They said that this minority of Pan-Democrats were radical, and they would be excluded. So Pan-Democrats should not be allowed to distort what the directors said at the Shenzhen meeting. You may not agree with them, but you must not distort what they said. And then the three directors went on to say that most pan-democrats were friends. They could be reasoned with. And they were concerned about the interests of Hong Kong and Hong Kong people. But maybe the CPG and these Democrats could not see eye to eye on the pace of democratic development. But then the Central People's Government was willing to continue to have a dialogue with these friends. So please do not say that the CPG has said that all Democrats will be excluded from the race. It is just that the CPG will not allow Democrats who oppose for the sake of opposing to join the race and to be elected and appointed. Now, Secretary, I'm really disappointed. You were present. That was a closed-door meeting, and only 54 electoral members were present. The public were not present. And so as the Secretary, you are duty-bound to tell Hong Kong people what the directors said at the meeting. Secretary, I want to ask you this question. In your view, what kind of people, what kind of electoral councillors are opposing for the sake of opposing and fighting for the sake of fighting? Can you tell me who are the ones who are jeopardizing one country, two systems? I can give you one example. Mr. Leung Kok Hong is one of this type. Secretary, concerning the points made by Mr. Lam Tai Fai, I want to say that although the meeting was a closed-door meeting, what the three directors said was made public after the meeting, and what they said has been widely covered in the media. And in fact, this is open information, and I think members of the public can read the newspapers and can see what was said at the meeting through the media. I want to say that we only have a 2-hour meeting today, and I think I should spend my time explaining clauses 4 to 5 to members, and I think we shouldn't be spending too much time on political disputes at this meeting because time is limited, and I really want to make the best use of limited time to explain clauses 4 to 5 to members. And I would like to say this again, I will not name people who are regarded as jeopardizing one country, two systems. I think naming these persons will only cause greater conflicts and disputes, and that will not be for the good of Hong Kong. And I want to say that there is a song with a line of lyrics which says, remaining silent is not equivalent to a lack of courage. Yes, I want to remind members as the chairman of the subcommittee that we are discussing clauses 4 to 5 today. But of course, I can't prevent members from making such remarks. But then it's for the secretary to decide whether he wants to address those issues. Mr. Ip Kwok Him, yes, indeed, Chairman. We are supposed to be discussing clauses 4 to 5 at this meeting, and I thank Mr. Lam Tai Fai for having set the record straight. He accurately reflected the position of the CPG as mentioned by the three directors at the meeting. Some say that those who are not like-minded people will not be allowed to take part in the election. So please do not distort what the directors said on Sunday. As Mr. Lam Tai Fai has said, the three directors said the majority of the Democrats loved the country and loved Hong Kong. But of course, there are die-hard opponents who are bent on jeopardizing one country, two systems, who are firmly against the Chinese Communist Party. But I think we should tell Hong Kong people exactly what was said by the 3 directors on Sunday. 5 million eligible voters are given a chance to elect the CE by one man, one vote in 2017. And I think there are it's really sad to have these people who are not acting in the interest of Hong Kong people. Now, if you have a different view, you can state your view, but please do not distort the central people's government's stance and cause divisiveness in society. Secretary, you said that people with different political convictions may be recommended or nominated.
In this respect, is your assessment that there will be enough members who will be recommended? Also, you have a maximum. How can you make sure that there will not be monopoly of recommendations? Because we want people of the entire political spectrum to enter the race. Mr. Secretary, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Ip, for the question. In terms of recommendations and the figures, we have set it at 1/10. That is 120 members. In other words, the NC can at most recommend 10 aspirants. The NC has yet to be formed, but according to the political distribution of the EC, we believe the 1/10 threshold should be able to balance between opportunities for people with different political affiliations to enter the race, and on the other hand, when we have 10 members or aspirants, will be able to have smooth arrangements vis-à-vis election forums, etc. As for the upper limit of 240 recommendations, this is to avoid what happened once when candidates garnered for support. One candidate got too many names, and so other people were kept out of the race. In other words, if we set a maximum of 240 recommendations, we'll still have at least 5 aspirants who will be able to get enough recommendations so as to enter the race. And through this system, when the NC makes nominations, there will be enough choice and there will be competitiveness and diversity in the nomination process. We'd like to, in fact, enhance these two features. This is the rationale for the design of the system. And I must supplement that this is the first time we have set the upper limit of 240 recommendations. And as I said, this is to enhance competitiveness and the number of aspirants. Ms. Anne Chang. Thank you, Chairman. As Dr. K.K. Kwok said, we are stuck with this proposal forever. But at the meeting, it's clear that Mr. Li Fei said, if you don't want it today, you will still have to use this in subsequent CE elections. As to whether there can be any amendments, Mr. Li Fei did not really answer the question, but he did not say no either. In Hong Kong, there has not been a law which is set to remain as it is and cannot be changed. I hope we will be saying the truth so as to set the record straight. Don't just come back and say if you pocket it today, there can never be any amendments or changes. Mr. Chairman, I have a question for the Secretary. The NC would be formed by 1,200 people. If we do not have 1,200 people, what would happen? Because as you know, there will be some who are people who have double identities as both legislators in Hong Kong and also NPC delegates. And if we do not have the whole 1,200 people, we will be flouting the rules. And secondly, recently, many Hong Kong people still don't understand the composition of the NC. Some people actually said or felt that the people at the NC would all be appointed by the central authorities. I think you should inform Hong Kong people through different channels that 1,200 members of the NC would be elected for the 4 sectors, and there will be 38 subsectors in the 4 sectors. And there are many organizations in the 38 subsectors which can be participated in by Hong Kong people. So many Hong Kong people can in fact be a voter to vote in the members of the NC. They can even stand for election to become members of the NC. Say for the religious sector, my younger sister is a Christian, and she was able to vote at her church. So whether it be a Catholic, a Buddhist, a Taoist, or a Protestant, the system is very open. As long as you are a permanent resident of Hong Kong and you are over 18 years of age, you can become a voter at the NC. I hope you will publicize this and let Hong Kong people know. Secretary, the 1,200 member NC is how the system is designed. It's just like the EC. And indeed, in the 38 subsectors, NPC delegates and legislators are ex officio members. If there are people with double or dual membership, say a person is a Hong Kong legislator as well as an NPC delegate, there will be indeed fewer than 1,200 people at the NC. Right now at the EC there are 1,194 people because there are 6 people with dual membership. The system is designed to have 1,200 people, but then there are people who have dual membership. So therefore, the system itself is intact. It is just that in reality, the number may be a bit smaller. This is what is happening now. As for the composition of the NC, indeed, there are 4 sectors and 38 subsectors. There is agriculture, business, the people from the political circle, and it does cover many different sectors, including the religious sector mentioned by Ms. Chang. Let me just mention that under the law, within the religious sector, we don't really require elections because we respect the unique background of the religious sector. Because for the 6 major religions in Hong Kong, traditionally they don't exactly vote in their leaders. But as you said, within the Christian faith, people may allow elections to be conducted. So Christians themselves can directly vote in their members. But we respect them. We allow them to do either because it is a special sector. Mr. Christopher Chung. Thank you, Chairman. I seldom speak, but I heard what Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen said, and I am a little enraged. I was at the Shenzhen meeting, and it's clear that Mr. Zhang Xiaoming said that amongst the pan-democrats, many of them love the country and Hong Kong and are rational. There are just a minority who do not support one country, two systems under basic law, and they want to throw a spanner in the works, and they even collude with external forces. So these people should not be recommended or nominated. But then that does not cover all the pan-democrats. Therefore, Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen, I think what he said misleads the public. However, Mr. Lam Tai-fai has already explained this. The pan-democrats are bundling themselves together in casting the vote. I think this is against the spirit of democracy and freedom of elections. I like to ask them, they now bundle themselves together, and all pan-democrats must vote in the same way. I'd like to know whether that is against our election laws, Mr. Secretary. Secretary, at the council here, how members exercise their rights of debating policies and bills, they should do so according to the rules of procedure. As to how members should be accountable to their constituents, that would be the political responsibility of members towards their electors. On the face of it, I think there is no direct conflict with election laws. I don't know whether I've answered you, Mr. Zhang. I am a law-abiding person. Under the SFO, if you ask clients to just buy one stock, that amounts to manipulation of the market, and that is against the law. I think you should look into this. Next, Mr. Raymond Chan. Thank you, Chairman. The People Power did not go to Shenzhen to have a closed meeting with the CCP Constitutional Package Trio. Are we the die-hard opponents? If those who participated in the electronic vote, the 800,000 people were also regarded as die-hard opponents, then we are. I don't know why the pan-democrats would really like that car ride to go to Shenzhen. They say it's better to have a dialogue. But what if you are summoned every week? I was not amongst the group, and I could only rely on members to recount what happened in that room. I thank Mr. Lam Tai-fai for his honesty. He gave us an account of what happened. But I don't think the officials have been honest. The Beijing trio already said very clearly that the die-hard opponents could not be recommended, and even so they could not be nominated, and even they are returned, they should not be appointed. I think this was told our government officials on the first day, but then you pretended that there could be a dialogue, and you wasted over a year of our time. You wasted public money and cheated the Hong Kong public. C.Y. Leung and the Hong Kong trio are doing the same thing. You don't tell the truth. Mr. C.Y. Leung said, let us keep a cool head and stay calm. My first question for Mr. Tam is, that was a very clear message. Is it that you have been told by the Beijing trio on the very first day, even before you started consultation in Hong Kong? If that was so clear, there would not even be the mention of civic nomination. You did not even have a framework because you already knew the objective. And that is that die-hard opponents could not be recommended, nominated, or appointed. All these should be written into the clauses. And also, Zhang Xiaoming mentioned the repaying of debts at the ballot box. I invented that phrase. I was targeting those people or political parties who would change their stance when they voted on the political package. Did you explain to Zhang Xiaoming what is meant by repaying the debt at the ballot box? The CCP does not have that concept because they don't have real elections. and the DAB would not be in that position. But my election platform was to veto fake universal suffrage, and I'm only acting according to my election platform. So why would I have to repay any debts? So do you understand what is meant by Mr. Zhang Xiaoming's remarks, and does he understand what is meant by that remark? I'd like to remind members that if you still ask the Secretary to explain what Beijing officials said, I think it would be a waste of time. Okay, then I can ask the Secretary how he understands that phrase of repaying debts at the ballot box. Okay, the Secretary can decide what he thinks. I don't exactly know who first used this phrase of repaying debts at the ballot box, but I believe in Shenzhen, Mr. Zhang Xiaoming was only quoting what Hong Kong people said, and he, of course, also gave his own interpretation. As for people power and other pan-democrats, I won't really comment on the strife amongst them. Just now you mentioned this, and also other members have mentioned the same thing, and who would become an aspirant or a candidate. According to the amendments proposed, I think we have said very clearly that if you get 120 nominations, you can enter the race.
And I think this is clearly laid down in the amendments. And we mainly rely on Article 44 of the Basic Law with regard to who would be eligible to stand in the election of the CE. Mr. Jeffrey Lam. Yes, Chairman. I am grateful to the SAR government for having arranged the meeting in Shenzhen on Sunday before LegCo was to vote on the resolution. And in fact, at that meeting, I think the atmosphere was cordial and friendly, and we expressed our views in a cordial manner. We did not speak loudly, but of course I wasn't in the second part of the meeting, and I cannot comment on the atmosphere in that part of the meeting. Please use your mic, but then there are people who are always so noisy. Please do not disrupt Mr. Lam. I want to say that, in fact, for what the SAR government said, what the directors said, this is open information. There are open documents, and in fact, I believe the pan-democrats did do some audio recording during the meeting. So perhaps you can let the public listen to the audio recording. So who has called a stag a horse? Who has been misleading Hong Kong people? Let Hong Kong people judge. Who is standing in the way of Hong Kong's political development? Hong Kong people want to be able to elect the CE in 2017 by one man, one vote. And how come there are people who have chosen to send wrong, incomplete, and incorrect messages to Hong Kong people? Why is it that these people still want to pull wool over Hong Kong people's eyes at this stage? In fact, we all want to be able to make a step forward in terms of Hong Kong's democratic development. We want this electoral package to be passed. If this electoral package is not passed, I believe many Hong Kong people will be very disappointed. Some may say that we can restart or re-trigger the 5-step process immediately after the resolution has been voted down. But then it has been made very clear that the process will not be restarted immediately, and no one knows when that process will be re-triggered. So I want to ask the Secretary this question. If this package is voted down, how are you going to deal with the content of the package, and will the 5-step process be restarted? Chairman, in fact, I want to say that, in fact, during the Shenzhen meeting, it was not that everyone was very soft-spoken and no one spoke loudly because there was an amplification system. But of course, I do agree that the atmosphere was cordial. Yes, different views were expressed, and different parties were trying to persuade the other parties to accept their views. And I think the atmosphere was good, and I think communication and dialogues of this nature are constructive and useful. As this resolution has yet to be voted on by the Council, I don't think we should speculate on the outcome of the voting. But of course, many members have already made known their voting inclinations. If the passage is voted down by LegCo, there is no constitutional process for the SAR government to restart the five-step approach or five-step process within this term. And then in the next term, the then CE will decide whether he or she would like to restart the five-step process. Now, in fact, when I said that members did not speak loudly at the meeting, I was trying to emphasize that the atmosphere was friendly and cordial. And I think I was not talking about people like Sin Chung Kai who point accusing fingers at others and who spoke rather loudly and said that people were wrong. Maybe he and in fact, I reminded him that he should observe the rules, but he was a bit excited. Mr. Alan Leung, I don't see any reason for him to feel excited. And in fact, we also on TV that Mr. Li Fei said that the 31st of August decision would apply to the 2017 election as well as CE elections after 2017. So that in fact we can all just refer to the news clips. There is no need for a member to come out to clarify what exactly the directors said at the meeting. But of course, I also said after the meeting that the meeting was very useful because Democrats felt that they fully understood the Central People's Government's position, and so we felt that we had no alternative but to vote down the package. And Mr. Wang Guangya, in fact, explained clearly what screening meant. He said that there were die-hard opponents. He said that there were pan-Democrats who were regarded as friends by the CPG, and so for the friends of the CPG, there would be further dialogues, but then for the die-hard opponents, they had to be struggled against firmly. But it seems that no one has had the courage to come out and define what a die-hard opponent means and what loving the country and loving Hong Kong means. Now, in fact, after we've heard what the three directors have said, we are left in no doubt. Everything is certain, and if the package is put before the Council as it is, then we will definitely oppose it. And Chairman, I want to ask a question about Annex I. Annex I says that the EC shall be composed of 800 members from the following sectors, blah, blah, blah. And what if the 2015 amendments are not passed? I mean, how can the 2010 amendments apply to the 2017 election? Because the 2010 amendments only applied to the CE election in 2012. So we do not have a basis for electing the CE in 2017. I believe this question was asked at the last meeting, but Secretary, perhaps you can explain again. According to the legal advice that we have, and I think I want to also add that Mr. Alan Leung has asked a very good question. According to the NPCSC's interpretation on the 6th of April 2004, the five-step approach for amending the annex was laid down, and the interpretation also said that if the method for selecting the CE was not changed, then the arrangements in Annex 1 would still apply. So that was the interpretation. And on the 2nd of April 2004, at the meeting of the NPCSC, the Deputy Director of the Law Committee of the NPCSC, Mr. Li Fei, said that if there was no amendment, then the existing arrangements would apply. In other words, after 2007, if there are no amendments to the method for selecting the CE, then in accordance with the legislative intent, then if the method is not amended, then Annex 1, the arrangements in Annex 1 should apply. And that, in fact, was the interpretation made in April 2004. And then in the decisions made by the NPCSC in subsequent years, it was also pointed out that if the method was not changed in accordance with the procedures, then the method for selecting the CE would be the same as the method for selecting the CE in the previous term. This principle has been restated many times, and on the 31st of August 2014, when the NPCSC made its decision known, it stated this principle in paragraph 4. In other words, if the amendments were not passed, then the method for selecting the CE in the previous term would still apply. In 2005, the political reform package was voted down by the LegCo, and the original method applied. And so if the resolution is voted down, then we'll still have the 1,200 strong election committee selecting the CE in 2017. Now, I hope that the Secretary can give me all those excerpts. Now, because the 2005 precedent may not be applicable, because the Annex 1 before us is the original Annex 1 and not the Annex 1 as amended in 2010. Yes, can you please give members the relevant documents? Yes, I can give them to members after the meeting, maybe in the afternoon, but I hope that this will not affect our present discussion on clauses 4 and 5 of the resolution. Ms. Helena Wong. Chairman, for the nominating committee, it is said that the specific election method shall be prescribed by local legislation. So concerning the sectors, subsectors, the ratio. So according to what was said yesterday, is it that we can never go beyond the 31st of August framework? So in other words, there may be reforms to the composition of nominating committee, but we still have to abide by the 601 criterion. Is that right? Now, in fact, this is in fact the second step. or rather we are in the third step, and that is the LegCo's approval, and the fourth step is the CE's consent. And then after the fifth step, then we can have these new arrangements in Annex I for the selection of the CE in 2017. As stated in the amendments, the number 1,200 and the 4 sectors, the names of the 4 sectors, and the number of seats, all these will be put into Annex I of the Basic Law. But then concerning how many subsectors there are, the electoral base for the various subsectors, these will be prescribed by local electoral laws. And in fact, this is inconsistent, or rather it is consistent with the present practice. And so if the government and the LegCo want to see changes to the arrangements for the nominating committee, it depends on what changes we want. Now, if we want to change number 1,200, we'll have to amend Annex I. But then if we want to change the electoral base, then that would mean seeking amendments to the local legislation. So as to how the, concerning expanding the electoral base, that can be taken care of by local legislation or amendments to local legislation. Is that right?
That will be stipulated in local legislation. But then you need 601 votes from the NC in order to become a candidate. That cannot be changed. Well, that is the nomination process. Under Clause 4 of the amendments, we have said so. Every candidate must be supported by over half of the NC before they are elected. And this is in Annex I, but then this is not taken care of by local legislation. Do I still have time? Yes, you do. At the Shenzhen meeting, central officials said very clearly that there would be political screening to target the so-called die-hard extremists. But as I said at the meeting, the realistic result is not just to screen out the so-called minority die-hard extremists. Actually, even the moderates and even those who are not liked by the central authorities in the pro-establishment camp would be screened out, because without any reform of the NC, there would not be so many or 600 moderates at the NC. So you are actually screening out a lot of people. Can I briefly respond? Yes, please. Thank you, Chairman. We are of the view that we have this stipulation because we want all 3 candidates to receive cross-sectoral support, so their platforms and their ideologies should not be taking care of only the interests of one sector, and indeed it should be looking after the interests of most people in Hong Kong. This is the political result, what we are proposing. Mr. Albert Ho, people talk about bundling a lot these days, but I'd like to tell you there are 2 types of bundling. One is voluntary. People bundle themselves together because of their conscience and convictions. So it's voluntary standing together. If it's voluntary, it's not really bundling. Secondly, people bundle themselves together because of benefits. They don't want to lose out. They are afraid of retaliation by the powers that be. So people bundle together. And this is the second type. The Pan-Democrats belong to the first type, but other people may belong to the second type. But I can say that if some Pan-Democrats want to change their tack, no one can bundle them. They should only be accountable to the public. We don't point guns at them. So I hope everyone will know how they can face society and the people and our next generation. On this point, I'm interested in para 3. Near the end, you say members of the nominating committee shall discharge their duties in their individual capacities. Does it mean they will not be bundled together? But how can you enforce it? This is the first question. Secretary. Chairman, this line is written by reference to existing clauses. This is also what is said in the present text. Members of the nominating committee will only make nominations, and there is no election. Therefore, we change the words shall vote to shall discharge their duties. And this is actually by reference to the existing Annex I. In other words, they should have their free mind behind making the nominations. Is that right? Well, we have already said that they should discharge their duties in individual capacities. It should be clear. Okay, then second point. We all know that the constitutional laws that apply to us include the constitution of PRC and then basic law. But then there have been interpretations of the basic law. Some wording of the basic law was given new meaning by the interpretation. To me, it should not have been done through interpretation, but by amending the basic law. But the central authorities have said that interpretation will suffice, like changing the 3-step process into a 5-step process. And then there are further decisions to add new rules and regulations to the interpretation. And that is the so-called decision on the 26th of April 2004. And that sets the framework for exercising the 5 steps. It states how the 5 steps should be taken, and step 2 is only about confirmation. In other words, after reading the report from the CE of the SARG as to whether laws have to be changed, the NPC should only make a decision to say yes or no. But now the NPC has done excessively, and therefore we have the August 31st decision. In fact, it is a kind of unauthorized addition to step 2. And apart from that, we have many more. And these are remarks made by officials. These include die-hards, moderates, loving the country and Hong Kong. Isn't that a kind of nonsense? How can they make so many remarks? And do they have a legal status? Chairman, since there is a judicial review case going on, I will not specifically respond to what Mr. Ho said, but I'd like to quote an objective fact. According to a case law in Hong Kong, interpretation on Article 158 by the NPCSC should have the same legal status as the basic law itself. I'm quoting from a case law. Mr. K.K. Fong. Chairman, Director Wang Guangya said on Sunday that those who oppose the CPG and those who jeopardize one country, two systems and blah, blah, blah should be screened out. They cannot be recommended or nominated or appointed. As you know, from the extreme right to the extreme left, we have people in the entire political spectrum. It is difficult, in fact, to say whether a person is a good person or a bad person. Just like in CCP, we have Lin Biao, and then in KMT, we have Li Denghui. These people were considered to be loyal, but then Lin Biao was shot to death by a big cannon, and Li Denghui supported the Progressive Party. Now, in that circumstance, how can you enforce the remark made by Wang Guangya? Secondly, what he said reflects that he doesn't trust Hong Kong people and the Hong Kong system, because I think Hong Kong people know that who are the people who work for the good of Hong Kong and so support them. And secondly, the Hong Kong system already makes it impossible for people who oppose the CPG to work in government. C.Y. Leung and the 3 secretaries are appointed by the CPG, and 43 members of the LegCo are pro-CPG. So whether in the executive or in the legislature, you have to pass many hurdles before you can rise to the top ranks. So why is it that the CPG has no trust in Hong Kong people and the Hong Kong system? My question for the secretary is that Wang Guangya is he belongs to the ministerial rank, and given that he should have a better understanding of the August 31st decision than you, Mr. Secretary. So first of all, did you hear him? 2, how are you going to enforce it? And 3, if you are really going to enforce it, how can you face Hong Kong people? Because Hong Kong people are asking for a democratic system with no unreasonable screening. Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. K.K. Fong made a very good point. He said that being the CE, you are constrained by rules and regulations, and therefore Hong Kong will not have autocratic democracy of whatever color. If K.K. Fong trusts Hong Kong people, then he should also trust that at least 50 to 60% of Hong Kong people also want universal suffrage to return the CE in 2017. What the SARG should do is to act according to the basic law and through the CE and his team to enforce the basic law and local laws stemming from the basic law. We have no other ways to do it. We have to act according to the basic law and the relevant MPCSC decision. Sorry, Chairman, so is the Secretary saying we should not have to listen to Wang Guangya, that it is rubbish? Well, we should act according to the law, and therefore we are also proposing amendments according to the law. After the system is set up, if there will be competition amongst the relevant people or candidates, that has nothing to do with the system. It is the political reality at every election. And that has a lot to do with the actual environment in Hong Kong at that time and also who the candidates are. We cannot make a general remark on this. Mr. Ng Leung Sing. Thank you, Chairman. I was talking to my friends, and they said that Hong Kong is undergoing a difficult but also meaningful process, because we are talking about universal suffrage to return the CE after 200 years of our history. And I think it's just normal that we have so much discussion when we embark on this task. However, we must be careful because politics is about processes. Just now, a professional doctor said something, and Mr. Lam Tai Fai already refuted him. You should tell the truth, but you must not distort other people's remarks to serve your own interest. I think this is a kind of immature political syndrome. They say even doctors are sick, and also there is this political division syndrome because people are trying to divide society. As a doctor, you should try to cure patients. Why do you want people to be sick? I think this is already a late stage for the discussion of this issue. I think we should become rational. Beijing leaders are organizing this seminar in order to make a last-ditch effort. Over 50 people went because we tried to show sincerity and listen to one another. But I have heard this point about the absolute minority, and also some members mentioned bundling. Why, when they cry out for democracy, those who proclaim themselves to be Democrats do not have trust among themselves, and so they want to bundle together? I think that goes to show their political immaturity. I think you only know this too well in your hearts. If you are clear about your political stance, why do you want to bundle together? If you want me to change my political stance, I won't. This is already the last stage. Think about what is best for Hong Kong, what is beneficial to Hong Kong's democracy. Why are you in such a pathetic situation, so you want to bundle together? I can hear from the forum that there is this point about the absolute minority, but the CPG trusts the Pan-Democrats. They know that they have the political convictions, but they do not belong to the extreme minority who want to do damage to the country. In the constitution of the PRC, the first line says that it is led by the CCP. You say you abide by the law, but you don't abide by the Constitution. Now, how can you explain yourselves to the public?
And then the right to make nominations. The Pan-Democrats say that there shouldn't be unreasonable restrictions. All right, but there are people who proclaim that they are against the country, they are against the ruling party, and so I think these people should not be allowed to stand in the election. Mr. Michael Tian, Chairman, the Pan-Democrats and some people in society do not want the electoral package to be passed. I think two main reasons are given. First of all, too restrictive, and also the presence of screening, and second, no hope of any improvement in the future. Now, Secretary Mr. Li Fei said on Sunday that concerning the nomination procedure, the voting will be by secret ballot. This is to allay the worries of society, and also strategic voting will be suppressed so that the voting results can reflect accurately the preference of nominating committee members. In fact, there has been little discussion about 2+N since the publication of the Consultation Report and Proposals. And then as to how manipulation and strategic voting can be minimized, there has been little discussion about these. And in fact, even I think some people do agree that the 2+N formula is rather open. In other words, these people who may not see eye to eye with the CPG on a number of matters can still stand in the election. So it's your opportunity, Secretary, to explain the merits of 2+N to members. Yes, there are a few paragraphs in this report on 2+N. First of all, the NC will be nominating CE candidates through voting by secret ballot. And this is to make sure that NC members will not be under pressure to make known who they support. All right, I think this is easy to understand. So I think you should explain the merits of 2 plus n. Strictly speaking, it should be 2 to n, not 2 plus n. In other words, we want to have at least 2 candidates. And in fact, we hope that the NC will be able to nominate 2 to 3 candidates. And if each nominating committee member has to give endorsement to 2 to 3 persons, that would be good. If there are 10 participants, then N means 10. So nominating committee members will not be put in a position whereby they cannot support D, E, and F because they have supported A, B, and C. So in fact, so all these persons can try to secure the support of all NC members, and there will not be a displacement effect. So in other words, even if I have chosen A, that will not preclude me from supporting B as well. So we look at we ultimately look at how many can get the endorsement of more than half of the members of the NC. So when we enact local legislation, we'll have to look at what is going to happen if there are more than 3 candidates. And in fact, in the report, we've proposed that those are the 3 candidates who get the largest number of nominating committee member votes will become the candidates. Yes, that will minimize the strategic voting. All right, I think we've finished round 1, and 5 or 6 members have indicated that they would like to have the second round. 2 minutes. Mr. Lee Chak-yan, I really must respond to what Mr. Lam Tai-Fai has said. So what role do you think you are assuming? How come you are naming Leung Kwok Hong? So who is to decide who is a die-hard opponent, who is not? How do you know whether the CPG will be moving the goalposts? In fact, someone asked Mr. Wang Guangya whether Audrey Yu was considered a die-hard opponent. So is it for you, Lam Tai-Fai, to decide who is a die-hard opponent and who is not? No, the 3 kings went to find Jesus. They asked the Pharaoh who Jesus was, where Jesus was. The Pharaoh knew that Jesus would appear. So, or rather, I beg your pardon, the king decided that all newborn babies would be killed because he knew that Jesus was already there. So we don't know whether the Communist Party will want to do this. So who is Jesus? Who is a die-hard opponent? Who is qualified to name a die-hard opponent? Is it that you are the judge? Is it that you can decide and judge who a die-hard opponent is? And the pro-establishment members said you would be okay if you were not a die-hard opponent. But Wang Guangya did not tell us whether Audrey Yu was regarded as a die-hard opponent. So nobody knows where Jesus is. Nobody knows who the die-hard opponents are. We don't know how they're going to move the goalposts. Yes, Mr. Lam Tai-Fai, you have time to respond. But then I have a member here who is asking questions in the first round. Mr. Wu Chi-wai, 4 minutes. In fact, I was upstairs, Chairman, and I heard what pro-establishment members said. They said that, in fact, there was a lot of room for improvement, and people with different political convictions could be screened in. But then Mr. Wang Guangya said that the design of the system was such that some people would and could be excluded. These are people whom the CPG finds unacceptable. They cannot be recommended, they cannot be nominated, and even if they luckily get nominated and elected, they will not be appointed by the CPG. So I think Mr. Wang has made it very clear that this is a system with screening. The system seeks to exclude certain people from the race. Now, of course, the officials talked about a handful of die-hard opponents. But then we've also been told that how we vote on the package is a touchstone for testing whether we support one country, two systems. So in other words, if the Democrats vote against the proposals, they will be regarded as dissidents who oppose the CPG. So I think they merely want to split society into two parts. And there are about 30% in society who staunchly support the Pan-Democrats. So these people will be struggled against. There will be a struggle against them. There will be a firm and fierce struggle against them. Some say that there is still room left for the Pan-Democrats, and not Pan-Democrats are unacceptable to the CPG. But then the three directors have stated very clearly who their friends are and who their foes are. So they are saying that some people in society support one country, two systems, and for those who do not support one country, two systems, they will be struggled against. In fact, Pan-Democrats support one country, two systems. We hope to find a platform under the basic law to effectively resolve disputes and conflicts in society. But then such a position is considered unacceptable. It is said that these Democrats will have to be struggled against. So do you think this position will benefit Hong Kong people? And then some say that the Democrats will still have a chance, so we need not be worried. Will we still have a chance? What chance will we have? This is a system which provides for screening. This is a system which is going to split society. How can the Pan-Democrats support such a system? And if we vote down the package, we're labeled as those who do not support one country, two systems. Mr. Wang Guangya said that most Pan-Democrats, he said right at the outset that most Pan-Democrats supported one country, two systems. So how can we reconcile all these remarks made by the directors? I think nobody is putting the effectiveness of the governance of Hong Kong first and foremost. So struggle is the most important thing. It's really sad for Hong Kong people. The CPG, the Communist Party, have made it very clear that they need to have all the say in Hong Kong. Ms. Sid Ho, a member said that, in fact, there was no need for a bundled approach. In fact, Hong Kong people want to be free from the shackles. They want to have genuine choices. We do not agree that we should pocket the package first. We cannot support the 31st of August the framework, and there are many Hong Kong people who think like this. So is it that all of them will be branded die-hard opponents? Then it is said that nominating committee members will nominate 2 to 3 candidates through voting by secret ballot. Now, in the original version, it is of Annex I. EC members, in fact, vote in their individual capacities. They also elect the CE by secret ballot. But then can we have nominations made by secret ballot? We only have 1,200 nominating committees when the population of Hong Kong is over 7 million. So they are going to be the kingmakers. They, in fact, enjoy a very big powers. They can nominate the candidates, and then all Hong Kong people are asked to confirm their choices. Do Hong Kong people have choices? No. Previously, for the West Kowloon Cultural District, there were 3 consortia, and it was said that one had to be chosen from the 3. But then, on that occasion, Hong Kong people said no. But then, this time, I want to say that nominating committee members should not be afraid of pressure. When they make nominations, they need to be open and accountable to Hong Kong people. They should not be making nominations through voting by secret ballot. Ms. Anne Chang. Chairman, Mr. Albert Ho said that the Pan-Democrats had been fighting for democracy for many years. They had to be accountable to the voters. Now, in fact, I have been thinking of the work of people like Emily Lau, Albert Ho. I want them to understand that we are all fighting for democracy because we want people's livelihood to be improved. So we hope that through implementing universal suffrage, Hong Kong people will each have a vote. And we want the future CE to be elected by Hong Kong people, and then the CE will act in accordance with the interests and wishes of the voters.
But today you're asking whether you are excluded. If you exclude us, we will veto your package. This runs counter to what you have professed to do, and that is to improve people's livelihood by achieving democracy. Dr. Helena Wong also said yesterday that since the shoes don't fit, I return them. But you haven't even tried them on. You say the shoes don't fit even without trying them on. Why don't we just try the shoes first? And Mr. Albert Ho, it is not that you won't have a chance. You have to understand that on Sunday you were there. Dr. Helena Wong was also there. Director Wang Guangya said very clearly that there are 2 types of Democrats. He said he would not appoint those who would collude with external forces and who advocate independence. You are not one of those, right? Your time is up, Dr. Lam Tai Fai. Chairman, what Mr. Lee Chek-yen said showed me that if he could not have the grapes must be sour. He has distorted time and again the remarks of the CPG officials because he would like to be a leader in the camp. But I don't think he has that kind of stature. Even Leung Kwok Hong doesn't have that stature. Just now, Mr. Albert Ho was trying to explain the spirit of bundling together. To me, it is a negative term. It speaks of passivity and involuntariness. Actually, each member has his own values, his own background, and his own life experience. Everyone should make his own judgment and should be able to think in this election process. If they are bundled together, it would mean that they are just following the tide. Is that the best way to do it? If you can act in such a voluntary manner, Mr. Alan Leung, you should say you voluntarily pull together in making your votes. But according to Annexes I and II, Mr. Secretary, apart from 2/3 majority support at LegCo, you also need the consent of the CE. This is what worries me because the CE says his aggregate power is much more than the mayor of any democratic cities. I don't know whether he was talking about London or New York. Now, even if some pan-democrats will come over to our side and pass the proposals, what if the CE does not consent? You cannot assume that he must consent, or else you need not have this line. There is no time. But this is a very basic question. You should allow him to answer. No way. Mr. James Tin, first round. I did not speak in Shenzhen, so I was able to listen carefully to all the remarks made by the pro-establishment and also the pro-democracy camp, as well as their exchanges with the three directors. Secretary, I'd like to ask you this question. The so-called die-hard minority. It seems the three directors were saying these people will cause damage. Is he talking, or are they talking about harming the Legislative Council by asking for quorum counts and filibustering, so the Legislative Council cannot function smoothly? If that's the case, then I would say that really only a minority is doing that. But if you talk about June 4th marches and protests, then the die-hard component may not be the minority. Secretary, you have better exchanges with them. Can you help to explain their observation? Secretary. Chairman, listening to Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen and his exchange with Dr. Lam Tai-Fai, it goes to show that I made the right decision not to answer them. But since Mr. James Tin is asking me this question, what the three directors said now belongs to the public domain. I think they were talking about the relationship between the central authorities and the pan-democrats. This is not the first time they have said so. They are explaining their stance. It's just that they are more detailed this time around. Anyone who makes objective observations, if you look at their interpretation, you will understand how the central authorities understand their relationship with the pan-democrats. On this point, I can say that I have a deep impression of what Director Wang Guangya said about the pan-democrats. He called them friends. He said he was most willing to have long-term communication with these friends. I think his remark was very clear. I don't know whether Mr. James Tin was here just now. I already said that I would not specifically respond to who belongs to the die-hard minority and who don't, because I don't think that is the purpose of this meeting. Mr. James Tin, I will ask another question. Just now, Ms. Sit-Ho was she's still here. I like to talk about a nomination by secret ballot. To me, this will benefit the pan-democrats, because amongst the 1,200, if they can nominate by secret ballot, and if they can nominate anywhere between 2 to 6 aspirants, then some people may actually nominate certain people because it would not be found out by the SARG or the central authorities. Do you agree? Chairman, in the EC of 2012, I have this experience. Nomination was also done by secret ballot, but then something happened. There was a rumor that perhaps the 1,200 EC members had to open their votes to certain people. And some pan-democrats asked me that there should be some shielding of the voting stations, and also the on-site cameras should not be directed towards the voting booths. So this is actually going to benefit people from all political affiliations. Mr. Christopher Chung, as members and the Secretary have said, Director Wang Guangya said the extreme minority collude with external forces and seek to subvert the CCP. He agreed that the majority of pan-democrats did not belong to that camp. I don't think pan-democrats should identify themselves to be that kind of extreme minority. In fact, many of the Democrats have been fighting for democracy for over 30 years, and now they can just cast one vote, and then all 5 million eligible voters in Hong Kong can have a vote. Whether there is screening or not, I agree it is not an ideal proposal, but at least it's a step forward. And your ultimate ideal is for the mainland to be democratized. If in Hong Kong we can have one man, one vote to return the CE, there may be an influence on mainland elections. This is also your ideal. But now you are near the end of the race, and yet you say you would pull back. I think it will be very disappointing for people who have been supporting you for over 30 years. There is still a chance to talk and to try to secure a better way forward. Now, if you object to it now, it would be very disappointing to people who want democracy for Hong Kong, and you may have wasted your efforts for the entire past 30-odd years. I hope you will think again. In other words, to push democracy a step forward. Deputy Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. Whether or not we should go for a meal or go for a banquet, we might not want to talk about the menu because you have not even made a decision as to whether you want to go. But in these days, many members are concentrating on whether they can be a part of the game. But we are talking about designing the system which should be neutral. We should not emphasize who is the minority, who is the opposition. I think we have put our focus in the wrong place. This is not even fair for the design of our democratic system because we have vested interests or ulterior motives. Chairman, whether you call it ground zero or what, I think there is a much bigger chance for the package to be vetoed. So what will happen after that, Secretary? Especially what will happen in 2017? Talking about democratizing the entire system, what do you think can be done? Whether it is about the composition of the NC, the voting methods, and also can there be changes in terms of direction and timing? Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. Supposing the package will not be passed, I have already explained that we will still go by the 1,200 strong EC system. And just like in 2005, there will not be policy changes by making local laws. We'll just make technical changes if necessary. It will be the same as what happened in 2005. But, Chairman, even if you say, for example, the package will be passed, then in clauses 3 and 4, you will still have to make local legislation in order to return the NC. Is it that the Secretary will not consider any changes to the NC to make it more democratic, whether or not the package will be supported? Secretary, well, in the consultation report, we have already stated our views with regard to local legislation. I believe later on, if we are to table a bill, there will be quite some coverage on the nomination process for the NC because it is going to be new, and also the voting methods for universal suffrage, and also We have mentioned other points to be taken care of by local legislation, like what Mr. Michael Teen said. If there would be more than 3 candidates, what will happen? And if there are not enough aspirants or candidates, if we have to go back a few steps, then until what step should we go back? As to the composition of the NC, since we have already stipulated that there will be 4 sectors and 1,200 members, and in the consultation report we have already said that there is no political consensus on the electorate of the NC. So with regard to 2017 Universal Suffrage, we do not intend to make any policy change, but only technical changes to the composition of the NC. Well, does it mean that you can take a long leave because you don't have to do anything if the package is vetoed? Is it that you don't even have to think about improvements? We should end our meeting at 12:45. There are 4 more members who would like to have a second round. I will allow the 4 of them to speak, and then we can draw the conclusion to our discussion. Mr. Michael Teen, I'd like to follow up what I asked the Secretary. A director said the 2+N method would allow people of very different political convictions to enter the race. But of course, many people are saying that you manipulate the NC. If you can manipulate 600 to 700 votes, then definitely you know who the candidates will be. But just now you said it will be by secret ballot, so no one would know. And number 2, if you nominate someone, of course you want him or her to win. And if you say you should at least nominate 1, and if there is really manipulation, does it mean people would really listen to the bosses? Or why would he want to create competition for the one he favors? Or would he rather nominate others who definitely would not become a candidate?
And the directors said that most pan-democrats supported the basic law and 1 country 2 systems, although they may not be able to see eye to eye with the CPG on certain matters, and they were the friends of the CPG. So were they hinting that in fact pan-democrats might still be nominated? Secretary, Chairman, just now I said that for the 2-N arrangement, under this arrangement, it's quite likely that more than 3 persons will be able to get endorsement of more than half of all the members of the NC, but then we are proposing that there will only be a maximum of 3 candidates. So I think the critical minority votes will be very important in deciding who will be able to become candidates. In fact, many academics and journalists have said that the 2-N arrangement may allow people from different political background to get nominated. So members can study this arrangement. Ms. Emily Lau. Now, I think the recommendation and members' recommendation and committee nomination procedures are meaningless because Hong Kong people do not have genuine choices. As Professor Larry Diamond, whom Mrs. Ip knows, has said this is an insult on Hong Kong people's intelligence. So, Secretary, please do not keep telling us that people with different political convictions will be able to stand in the election. Ms. N. Chang not be able to take part in the election. That was why we opposed the system. In fact, we've never asked for a system which favors the pan-democrats. We just hope to have an open and fair system so that people with different political beliefs can stand in the election. Pan-democrats as well as pro-communist people should be allowed to stand in the election. But now Beijing is bent on controlling the system, and Hong Kong people won't be able to choose the NC members. NC members will only nominate those who are to the liking of the CPG, and then Hong Kong people are presented with the candidates that the CPG likes. But then Hong Kong people don't like this kind of election because they have to choose among candidates that the CPG anoints, and then if if this chosen CE doesn't perform well, Hong Kong people also have to bear the blame because they are those who choose that CE. They are those who elect the CE. So there is no need for you to give a reply, Mr. Albert Ho. I want to say that, in fact, sometimes you named die-hard opponents. The CPG officials did not. And I want to say that, in fact, this is really this is about self-restraint, about legislating to restrict our own behavior. Mr. Christopher Jong, I want you to know that Hong Kong people do not want fake universal suffrage. It's like taking fake drugs when you are ill, and it makes your conditions worse. So please do not think that we are discharging our duties under Article 45 if we support the package. For the good of Hong Kong people, we cannot support the package. And then NC members will be nominating candidates through voting by secret ballot. And if this is not screening, what is it? How come people can nominate by keeping their choices secret? And then you're saying that the details will be dealt with by local legislation. How come you still aren't able to give us all the specifics at this very late stage? And how can we be expected to support this package? Mr. James Tian. Now, in fact, Mr. Lam Tai Fai wanted to ask a question about Clause 4, but then he didn't have enough time. It's about having 2/3 majority in the LegCo to endorse the amendments, and also the consent of the CE is necessary. So this is Clause 7. And what if the CE doesn't give his consent? What's going to be the constitutional position? Because in my view, the incumbent CE doesn't want the amendments to be passed because in our view it's unlikely that he will be elected if this next CE is to be elected by one man, one vote. Chairman, if there isn't a 2/3 majority in this council, then of course there will be no change. And then if there is no consent by the CE, then again the status quo will be maintained. And then if there is no approval by the NPCSC, again the status quo will be maintained. So if the CE doesn't give his consent, then the package cannot be implemented. But then the CE has said on many public occasions that he will give consent to the package if it is passed by LegCo. And then, Chairman, then what if a few candidates are nominated, and the 3 candidates will have to make certain promises or pledges with regard to their election platforms, their manifestos. So I said that process, the process to gain voter support is also democratic. All right, so we've had a total of 8 meetings. And we have already covered the 5 clauses under the 2015 proposed amendments. I think the work of the subcommittee has come to an end. And I want to ask the Secretary about the administration's timetable and the way forward. Secretary, I need to thank the Chairman and members for having discussed the government's proposals at their meetings. So after today's meeting, I will, in accordance with the rules of procedure and of course before the deadline, give formal notice to the President that we will submit the resolution to the LegCo for voting on the 17th of June, and that's our work plan. Now, if the final version of the resolution is the same as the version that the subcommittee has discussed, then I think the work of the subcommittee can be deemed to have been completed. And if you give formal notice today to the President, then I will give a verbal report to the House Committee this Friday, and then I will follow up with a written report to the House Committee next Friday. Do members have any questions? No? Then I think the subcommittee has already completed its work. If there is no AOB, then thank you very much for attending. Meeting adjourned.